HOA blocked off my cabin with fences, but I control the only bridge in and locked it. Have you ever felt the cold, isolating grip of an invisible fence, erected not by physical barriers, but by the sheer, unyielding will of someone determined to control your very existence? I'm Silas Blackwood, and my sanctuary isn't a sprawling mansion. It's a secluded, rustic cabin nestled deep within the Whispering Pines wilderness, accessible only by a winding gravel road that crosses a single, ancient wooden bridge over the rushing Ravenwood Creek. This bridge, a relic of a bygone era, has been the sole lifeline to my family's property for generations, a place where I find peace, pursue my passion for wildlife photography, and conduct my quiet research on local bird migration patterns for the Audubon Society. Then, Ms. Vivian Sterling arrived. Vivian, the newly elected, self-anointed queen of the sprawling, meticulously manicured Emerald Crest Estates Homeowners Association, saw my humble cabin and its essential bridge not as a historical landmark or a vital research outpost, but as an unacceptable rural intrusion. She was all sharp angles and sharper pronouncements, a woman whose perfectly coiffed blonde hair and designer activewear screamed unapproachable perfection. Her first official act, it seemed, was to send me a curt, imperious letter demanding the immediate demolition of the old wooden bridge and its replacement with a modern, aesthetically pleasing concrete structure that would harmonize with the community's refined image. Her ultimate, thinly veiled demand was for me to pay for this exorbitant upgrade, effectively forcing me to finance her vision of grandeur. Her tone was dripping with condescension, her words a thinly veiled threat against everything I held dear. She looked at my bridge, a testament to resilience and history, as if it were a festering wound on the pristine landscape she envisioned. I tried to reason with her, calmly explaining the historical significance of the bridge, its structural integrity. It had been professionally inspected just months prior, and the fact that my property, while adjacent to Emerald Crest, was technically outside their jurisdictional boundaries, governed solely by county zoning laws. I even provided an official historical preservation report, highlighting the bridge's unique design and its role in the region's early logging history. Vivian merely waved a dismissive hand, her perfectly manicured nails glinting. "Mr. Blackwood," she purred, her voice a brittle whisper of disdain, "your quaint little bridge simply doesn't align with the elevated standards of Emerald Crest. We are building a community of distinction, and frankly, your dilapidated structure detracts from our property values. The bylaws are clear. We control all access points bordering our community." Her words, delivered with an air of unassailable authority, left no room for debate. She was not interested in history or preservation. She was interested in control and exclusivity. The true nightmare began on a crisp autumn morning. I drove my truck, laden with supplies for my cabin and camera equipment for a rare bird sighting, towards the bridge, only to find it completely blocked. A massive, temporary chain-link fence, topped with barbed wire, stretched across the entire entrance to the bridge on the Emerald Crest side. A sign, emblazoned with the Emerald Crest HOA logo, declared, "Private property bridge access denied, violators will be prosecuted." My heart pounded with a mix of fury and disbelief. They had fenced off the only way in and out of my property, effectively trapping me, or preventing me from accessing my home. My rare bird photography expedition, crucial for the Audubon Society's conservation efforts, was now jeopardized, a stark symbol of Vivian's petty tyranny. As I stared at the imposing fence, a glint of something metallic caught my eye near the base of one of the newly installed fence posts. It was a discarded, muddy survey stake, not from the HOA but from a private land development firm. My blood ran cold. I quickly photographed the scene and then, driven by a gnawing suspicion, hiked through the dense woods along the creek, bypassing the fence. What I found on the other side of the bridge, hidden amongst the trees, made my stomach clench. There were more survey stakes, marking out a vast area of the wilderness, including a significant portion of the protected bird sanctuary. This wasn't just about my bridge, it was a brazen land grab. Vivian had secretly brokered a deal with a luxury development firm, Crestview Holdings, to sell off a large tract of the supposedly protected wilderness bordering Emerald Crest, and my cabin's access road and bridge were inconvenient obstacles. The old bridge, being historically protected, would have complicated their plans, so blocking it was step one. And then, a chilling detail. I found a discarded, mud-stained blueprint for a new, exclusive access road, cutting directly through the bird sanctuary, bypassing my property entirely. This wasn't just obstruction. It was a calculated, high-stakes conspiracy, threatening not only my home, but a vital ecological habitat and a major conservation project. Armed with this irrefutable evidence, the photos, the survey stakes, the discarded blueprint, and my deep knowledge of the local ecology, I resolved to confront Vivian publicly. I learned she had called an emergency HOA meeting, ostensibly to announce a new, exciting community expansion project, an expansion, I now realized with a surge of cold fury, that was designed to enrich her and Crestview Holdings. I arrived, my evidence ready, just as Vivian, radiating an almost unbearable smugness, began her presentation, complete with glossy renderings of new luxury homes sprawling across the wilderness. I waited for a lull, then stood up, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "Vivian," I stated, holding up the blueprint, "I believe this document sheds a rather inconvenient light on your expansion project." Her eyes, which had been sparkling with self-satisfaction, immediately narrowed. She quickly recovered, her voice sharp. "Mr. Blackwood, I have no idea what you're talking about. This is a private HOA matter. You are disrupting our proceedings." She attempted to rally the other HOA members, painting me as a disgruntled, eccentric recluse, a nuisance to their refined community. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this is precisely the kind of element we are trying to remove from our beautiful emerald crest. But just as she was about to call for me to be removed, a quiet, unassuming woman named Dr. Lena Petrova, a renowned ornithologist from the Audubon Society, rose from her seat. She had been attending the meeting incognito, alerted by a tip from one of my fellow birdwatchers who had noticed the new survey stakes. "Actually, Ms. Sterling," Dr. Petrova interjected, her voice calm but authoritative, "Mr. Blackwood raises a very serious point. And I also have something to add." She then projected a series of heat maps onto the screen. Clear, undeniable images showing the critical migratory paths of endangered bird species directly over the proposed development site. "This expansion," Dr. Petrova continued, her voice gaining strength, "is a direct violation of state and federal wildlife protection laws. It threatens several critically endangered bird populations and their vital habitats." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Before Vivian could even stammer a denial, the doors to the community hall swung open. Two stern-faced individuals from the State Department of Environmental Protection, accompanied by a county sheriff's deputy, walked in. They had been tipped off by Dr. Petrova, who had confirmed my initial suspicions. "Vivian Sterling," one of the DEP agents announced, his voice devoid of emotion, "you are in violation of multiple state and federal environmental protection acts, including the Migratory Bird Treaty Act and the Endangered Species Act. The proposed development on this land constitutes a felony. We also have reports of forged permits and suppressed environmental impact assessments submitted to the county for this expansion project." Vivian's face, which had been a mask of carefully constructed composure, crumbled into a terrified, pale mess. Her jaw went slack, her eyes darting wildly around the room, searching for an escape that wasn't there. She stammered, then erupted into a desperate, high-pitched shriek, blaming misunderstandings, overzealous contractors, and a misunderstanding of the paperwork. It was the pathetic wail of a tyrant whose kingdom had suddenly collapsed. Then, a surprising voice emerged from the crowd. Mr. Davies, a long-standing, quiet member of the HOA board and a respected local historian, stood up, his face etched with regret. "And Miss Sterling," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "perhaps you'd also like to explain why you pushed so hard for this expansion project, not for the community's benefit, but because Crestview Holdings, the developer you're so eager to partner with, is secretly owned by your estranged husband's family, and you intended to use this deal to secure a massive divorce settlement and a controlling interest in their future projects, all under the guise of community growth." The revelation hung in the air, a final, poisoned arrow. Vivian had been exploiting the HOA not for the community's benefit, but for her own illicit financial gain and personal vendetta. The fallout was swift and brutal. Vivian was immediately stripped of her HOA presidency, her reign ending in public humiliation and a perp walk captured by local news. The DEP launched a full-scale investigation, leading to severe fines and criminal charges for environmental destruction and fraud. Crestview Holdings, facing legal repercussions and public outrage, immediately pulled out of the deal and faced a barrage of investigations, leaving Vivian utterly isolated and financially ruined. She lost her position, her reputation, her social standing, and faced a future of crushing debt and legal battles. Her karma was a public, humiliating spectacle, a direct consequence of her petty tyranny and environmental vandalism. As for my bridge, the county ordered the immediate removal of the illegal fence. But I, with the help of my lawyer and the Audubon Society, discovered a fascinating legal precedent. Since the bridge was indeed historically significant and the sole access to my property, and since Vivian's actions had proven the HOA's willingness to obstruct vital access, the county granted me full, exclusive control over the bridge, including the right to install a gate. I didn't just install a simple gate. I installed a heavy-duty, automated gate at the Emerald Crest side of the bridge, complete with a digital keypad and a prominent sign. Private access authorized personnel only. Unauthorized entry will be prosecuted. For Emerald Crest Estates emergency access, contact County Fire Department. For all other access, contact Silas Blackwood for permission. The HOA, now under new, more sensible leadership, had to swallow their pride. Every time a resident or a service vehicle needed to access the other side of the creek through my property, which was often, as it was the most direct route to certain hiking trails and a newly built utility station, they had to call me for the gate code. It was a sweet, ironic victory. My cabin remained my sanctuary, now even more secluded and protected, a constant reminder to Emerald Crest of the price of their former president's arrogance. I felt a profound sense of vindication, a quiet triumph that justice, however painfully achieved, had prevailed. My bird research continued uninterrupted, now with even more support from the Audubon Society. The community, shaken but united, began the process of rebuilding trust and respecting the delicate balance of nature. In a world where bureaucratic power can become a weapon and individual ego can endanger an entire ecosystem and the livelihoods of many, where do we draw the line between upholding rules and protecting nature and personal property? When faced with such blatant disregard for history, environment, and individual rights, what would you have done?